Hey, Florida. I know some of us are waking up with some pretty mixed feelings about what happened with the primary election last night. And before I get into talking about that, I just want you guys to sit with this thought for a minute. If you are upset today about Dana Marie Foster not winning the primary to be our next governor, I just want you to imagine how you're going to feel when you wake up on November 4th and find out that Byron Donalds is now the new governor of Florida. Because some of us were so upset that Dana didn't win that we didn't show up and vote for David Jolly. Now, I know he's not the ideal candidate. I understand he was a former Republican, now a Democrat, and there are a lot of concerns about his agenda. But what Byron Donalds has openly said he wants to do as the governor of the state of Florida is a hell of a lot worse than anything David Jolly could possibly do. So I really just want you to sit with this thought and imagine how you're going to feel if you wake up on November 4th knowing that Byron Donalds is our new governor, because it's going to be a lot worse than the way that you feel now that Dana Marie Foster didn't win the bid. So just keep that in mind, and we'll talk about the other situations from the primary election a little bit later.
Hey, so I actually hate that I'm admitting this on the internet, but I have a reason for it. So I'm going to tell you that I just changed my party affiliation begrudgingly from no party affiliation that I've been since I was a registered voter at 18 to Republican, unfortunately. But there's a good reason. I want to vote in the Florida primaries. If I'm no party affiliated, I cannot vote in those primaries. And I'll be damned if I let Byron Donalds become governor of Florida. So, yeah, I'm doing everything I can, including registering Republican, to vote against him. And it only took me 10 minutes to change my party affiliation. So if it's not too late, you should too. Do not let Byron Donalds become governor of Florida.
Florida, y'all are about to find out if We Don't See Color has terms and conditions. Because November election midterm is going to be Byron Donalds versus David Jolly. And this matchup, I think, is going to be real interesting. Now, David Jolly is a former Republican, and he kind of looked at those Trump Republicans and was like, nah, y'all on something else. I'm good on that. Then you got Byron Donalds. He's about to put the Republican talking points to a full-on stress test. Because Republicans keep saying they don't see color. Everybody's welcome. DEI is terrible and immigration is out of control. Okay, now here comes this black Republican, first-generation American born to immigrant parents, married to a Latina woman, biracial children, carrying Trump's endorsement. Florida Republicans, your exam has begun. Pencils down, no talking. Because are y'all really voting strictly on policy? Or does that We Don't See Color suddenly need an asterisk? And don't forget, Florida's struggling right now. They're dealing with a lot of high costs, crazy insurance premiums, and then taxpayer money gets spent on political priorities like Alligator Alcatraz. So I think that this election in Florida is going to come down to something bigger than Republican versus Democrat. It might end up being what Republicans say they believe versus what they actually do when the ballots are in front of them. Florida, what do you think is going to happen in November? Let's talk about it.
Hello guys, after Trump endorsed Byron Donalds to run for the governor seat in Florida, all hell broke loose. MAGA white Americans are furious with the fact that Florida will have the first black governor in history and they are not having it. With the first video we have just watched, you can clearly get to see and understand how white Americans are furious with this bold move Trump has made. If you enjoyed this video and it is your first time here, consider hitting the subscribe icon below and I'll keep you more posted and updated. Follow for more facts and credits to all parties involved in this episode. We deal with true facts from reliable sources. Watch this short coverage till the end so that we can be on the same page. Share a response on the comment section below and I will humbly respond to you. Let me tell you this. Racism in Florida, this is the hometown of Donald J. Trump, and Trump decided to endorse a black man to run for the governor seat because he knew Democrats would win these midterm elections. Now the perfect question here with us today is, will race be the determinant in Florida, or will it be the ideologies Democrats have and the ideologies Republicans have? And the way things are going, Democrats being led by David Jolly, have a higher percentage of winning the midterm elections as opposed to Republicans. Let's watch, and at the end I'll have most commentary on this episode.
Byron Donalds will not make a stance on anything AI. When it comes to flock cameras, he says that he'll work with law enforcement to make sure that they're safe. When it comes to AI data centers, again, he'll work with those data centers to make sure that they're not destroying our ecosystem. But we know that there is no middle ground. Why is Byron Donalds okay with them being in our state? Byron might sit there and say he's going to put restrictions on these AI data centers, but the truth is he's taken nearly $2 million from AI connected companies. If Byron wins, Florida will burn.
But another logical explanation for Donald's poor showing in rural Florida is race. No black candidate has ever won a partisan statewide office in modern times in Florida. Donald's upstart rival, James Fishback, the troll, repeatedly used racial code words, such as calling him Byron, saying he was a slave to his donors, and alleging that Byron Donalds was a DEI hire. Fishback inexplicably got over 10% of the vote, 177,000 plus votes. Voters who reject Donalds should do so because of his ideas, not the color of his skin.
Is Florida officially the new Republican stronghold? Because after last night's primary, it sure looks like it. Byron Donalds won the Republican nomination for governor, and Ashley Moody dominated the Republican Senate primary. But what about the Democrats? Well, they might have a little explaining to do. Byron Donalds is one of the most popular members of Congress, and he'll face David Jolly in November. Jolly, of course, is a former Republican who turned independent and eventually became a Democrat, which is wild when you think about that this is a guy who claimed to be a Republican. But now, looking at his policy positions, there's no chance he ever was. Then there's the Senate race. Ashley Moody, who is the wildly popular former Attorney General, is going to be facing Angie Nixon, the DSA nominee, in November. And of course, Nixon is not running as a moderate. She somehow pulled off an upset against Alex Vindeman. If you had told me a year ago that I had been hoping that Vindeman would win a race, I'd have told you were nuts. But here's the number that I want you to remember. Ashley Moody received 1,299,949 votes in the Republican primary, and the two Democrat Senate candidates combined, 1,233,680. Go back and listen to that again. Ashley Moody received more votes than both Democrat candidates combined. That's not polling. That's not a typo. That's how many people actually showed up and voted. So here's my prediction. Byron Donalds runs away with the governor's race in November. Ashley Moody easily holds the Senate seat, and Florida stays firmly in the Republican column. You know, a few years ago, Florida was considered a battleground state, but after these primaries, I'm pretty confident in saying that the Sunshine State is officially the new Republican stronghold. And it's not a question of whether or not Florida is red. It's a question of how long it can stay that way.
Elections are over in Florida, which is good, but also there's a lot of interesting things to take away from this. So I want to start with this, the Republican primary, because this had some wildly different results than a lot of people thought. There were a lot of people in traditional media who said that Fishback was going to nosedive in the actual election, and there were a lot of people in the online space saying he was going to do way better than people thought. Dude, wow, not even 11%, man. But besides that, I also want to point out that Byron Donaldson did not secure 50% of the Republican primary vote, which is crazy when you consider the fact that he is a two-time House rep, MAGA loyalist, Trump-backed candidate. This is following a trend of MAGA black candidates who get Trump endorsements just not succeeding at the polls. Amir Hassan is a black Muslim man in Michigan who lost his primary despite being Trump-backed. And the fact that Donaldson didn't even secure 50% of the vote, I think really does say where the Republican Party is right now. There's also some very interesting numbers from the Democratic primary. David Jolly smoked everyone, dude. It wasn't even close. Diana Marie Foster put up some good numbers for how much resources she had, but this wasn't even close. And as someone who's in local politics, especially in South Florida, I could tell you the old people vote is very powerful here. It wasn't even a question. They fell in line for Jolly like that, dude. But now the big race is underway. And I'm voting for Jolly. I guess. The real question, and I honestly think this is going to be the deciding factor of the election, can Republicans get over the fact that they're going to have to vote for a black man? If we were talking like 2020, maybe, probably, I don't know. Right now, I don't know. And I don't know if that helps Jolly or if that hurts Jolly. I don't know. Just get out and vote in November, please.
The midterm elections are around the corner. Which between the two sides will you go for? Is it the Democrat side or the Republican side? And sources are saying Democrats have a higher percentage of winning the midterm elections as opposed to Republicans. Up to now, what do you have to say about this episode if you are a resident in Florida? By November 4th, we will have results on the table, and as the way things are going, race will be the determinant of who will win the midterm elections, the governor seat in Florida. It is such a shame that racism in America will not end, and white Americans are absolutely furious Trump endorsed a black guy to run for the governor seat in Florida. This is a state heavily infested with MAGA supporters, the MAGA cult, and they are not siding with what Trump did. If you can't beat them, join them. And that's what Trump did. He decided to choose Byron Donalds so that he can beat Democrats at its own game. It is such a shame that MAGA white Americans do not side with black Americans. It was a nice session engaging with you, and always remember this. White Americans will always be against black people. They don't want to be led by black Americans. It is not something new. It is something black Americans have faced for the longest time possible. The racial slurs they keep on calling you, the N-words they keep on lashing out loud to you on the streets, it is because of such instances like this. They don't want Florida to have a black governor. And if it does happen, Florida will ban. On the next episode, I'll continue giving you a glimpse. Stay tuned to my channel. I'll continue giving you the full coverage of what's happening in Florida, MAGA updates, black, brown, and minority groups in America. I champion for the rest of black Americans in a white supremacist world. They are so mad, they don't want a black governor in Florida. Trump did his best to wipe away racism in Florida, but it seems like the system will always be against black people in America. Thank you for watching, and be on the watch out if you are a resident in Florida. Follow for more facts, and I'll keep you more posted and updated on what's happening in these midterm elections in USA. Goodbye.